Hey everybody, how are you doing today? It's a wonderful, wonderful Monday in April, and we are excited to be here with you today. I say we, you can see I'm by myself right now. I don't know if some of y'all were on last week. I disagreed with something Brandon said, and he's like, I'm not doing it again with you. And so I'm by myself. No, I'm kidding. You know better than that. But it is just me today. I will be having a guest on, however. So I'm excited about that. But in the meantime, looks like we're all good. We're doing it via Be Live today because of our guest. We wanted to have a nice little smooth live. So thank you guys for jumping on. I see Tori's on and Bryce. Who else? Maria, Sweet Home Alabama. Gladys, thank y'all for jumping on. You guys are on point this morning. You're on target, catching me right as I'm coming on. Hey, Cindy, Diana, happy to see you guys on. So let's talk about the weekend. There was a workshop this weekend. I know a lot of you guys took advantage of that. I've gotten some feedback of some new people who've really had kind of a great start by being invited to that workshop and then having some training happen right after. It's a great tool, you guys, for you to utilize for those brand new people and getting started. And now next weekend is our lead school. So that's awesome. Hopefully you guys have already gotten registered for that. If you've not done that yet, please do so right away. You know, this is your reminder. Maybe make a note to do it as soon as this live ends, because it's important to have an idea of how many people are going to be in the room so that it's set up properly. And as you know, presenters come from all over to make those lead schools happen. Hosts that are setting it all up have a lot of legwork involved. So make sure you're doing your part if you're attending so that you can make it as smooth as possible. Happy to see so many of y'all on here this morning. So anyway, today, one of the things that we're going to talk about, and really kind of what I centered a lot of this call around, is our core value number 4, which is we are resilient. There is a lesson to be learned in every obstacle. And I love this because I feel like if we keep that mindset, that there's a lesson to be learned, if we step back and address whatever it is that we're facing and go, what can I learn from this? Then something good always comes of it. And the reason that we invited the guest on that we're having on today is because she's been with our company for a while, years. I'm going to let her tell her story a little bit. But last month, she had her biggest month ever in her LifeVantage history. And so we asked her to come on. It's Mimi Madden from Albany, New York. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hey, Mimi, you're on with us. And I want her to tell you guys, first off, before I even give you the introduction as to why she's on, tell us, Mimi, a little bit about you, right? You're a mom. You're very hands-on in a nonprofit. Like, tell us what's your day-to-day schedule look like and how long you've been with LifeVantage.
Okay, thank you. You can hear me okay?
I can.
Great. So even though you always have seen me in Albany, I actually live in Connecticut.
Yes, I mess that up every time. Thank you for correcting me.
New Hartford, Connecticut, kind of near Hartford. Yeah, so I've been with LifeVantage, I think it's almost 6 years now, which is really hard to believe. And I am a mom of 6 kids. I have a big family. I actually homeschooled them for a lot of years. As they were getting older, I started working in the nonprofit field. I've always been involved in the arts, so they were in arts nonprofits. I've been a fundraiser and run programs. I've even run a poetry festival. And actually, ever since I was in my 20s, always had an interest in alternative health. So that's kind of my background. And you know, now I work part-time at this wonderful American Mural Project, a wonderful mission, and I really like the organization. And I work a lot of hours in LifeVantage, as many as I can. People ask me how many. It's as many as I can because I'm building something wonderful with that. And of course, I'm still very involved with my children's lives. So that maybe gives you a little, and very busy like everybody, you know.
Well, I'm glad that you shared that because I feel like, a lot of times people always want to know someone else's story. Well, do they have more time than I have? Or that, why are they having something that I've not yet accomplished? And so I think it's important for people to hear everyone's story because it usually is similar in that our lives are busy. But we asked you on today because of the core value being about resilience. No doubt in those 6 years of time with LifeVantage, you've had some ups and downs. You've maybe experienced some things that presented itself as an obstacle, and yet you've been resilient in that you've kept on marching and now have experienced your biggest month ever. So maybe you could take a few minutes and share maybe some of the obstacles you faced and then how you found ways to get around it so that you were resilient in that way.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I guess initially I was, when I joined, I heard about this down in Florida, came back to Connecticut. I was just visiting down there and came back, and I just had a gut feeling I should join this. Nobody really explained to me how the business could change my life. I definitely got what the products, well, it was only 2 then, but so I came back up and I was absolutely clueless. I didn't really have mentorship. I just had no idea. And then fortunately I started, and there was nobody really in this area at all that I knew. Fortunately I started receiving what was then called the Pro Audio series. And that was a lifeline because I began to hear from a lot of leaders about their journey in LifeVantage. I began to hear that there were events that were really important to connect to. I heard about the Big Blue Calendar. And I just got really intrigued because I thought, I want some of what they have. I like the idea of having more freedom in my life. Resilience, partly, I'm a resilient person, partly because I am pretty disciplined. And if I believe in something, I'll stick with it. But in that sometimes we become very dutiful and just give up on our dreams. So it was really awakening myself again to these stories through their leadership. So that was really wonderful. And I did finally go to an event, and then I tried to connect with people through the Big Blue Calendar who had been doing anything, and that didn't really pan out. I was trying to apply my own background in promotion and events to LifeVantage, and some of it applies, a lot of it really didn't apply. I was doing a lot of things that weren't duplicatable as I began to enroll people with creating massive notebooks. And I remember collating them all around my kitchen. I just want to get this. Once they have this information, then they're going to just soar. And it's just so much not like that. And I also, the first probably year or 2, most of those distributors that came in either are still customers or just dropped out altogether. So I had a lot of very discouraging times I felt very alone. I began to connect with my uplines and introduce myself. There was somehow I got this list of people willing to talk to me, so I started calling people. So I took initiative in that way. But yeah, there was a lot of challenges and a lot of kind of discouragement and loneliness. But I think the thing that really kept me was, number one, when you believe something that is true, you just don't want to let go of it. And I knew that at the heart of this was a wonderful medical breakthrough. And I also began to meet more and more people who had really gotten their lives back. I was a very healthy person. I had seen some great changes, but that really expanded my belief too. And again, the stories that I had heard from the other leaders were expanding my belief in that. But you often hear people say, well, the most important thing is just don't give up. Well, that's sort of true, but you can not give up, but still not succeed. Right. And I, a lot of frustration. So, it's part of the challenges I've had.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you just said that you can not give up, but not succeed, because you've got to have action in there to go along with that. But you also said a couple things I made note of. You said there was no one in your area. And I think that, Mimi, as I know you, I know your story. And the reason I always put you in Albany, New York is because that's where the trainings are held. and you get there and you orchestrate a lot of that. I know you've got some people that help you with that as well. I know you and Jenny partner with that, but nonetheless, you stepped up and you kind of took the bull by the horns. And you guys, for those of you who are in an area who may not have a whole lot going on, when Brandon and I looked at our team as a whole, it seems as though the ones who have the most success are the ones that step up in their area and make things happen. They don't wait for things to happen. They make things happen. And so Mimi, that's something you've obviously done. You recognize the significance of this, of like, okay, it's not happening. I'm going to have to figure out how to make it happen, and have done so. And you also said that the events have been very impactful on you. I know for me too, Elite Academy is something that that's like, to me, it's gold. It's gold. If you can get people to Elite Academy, it kind of paints the vision for us. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. And it really, a lot of what you do when you're building a business in LifeVantage is to convey that vision, that the minute that you bring somebody in, who do you want to bring in so that we can all go there together? Because it is plugging people in that really duplicates and just starts the energy going. Yeah, absolutely. And I know that, you know, it would have been nice to have a growing organization existing here, but I had to figure out how to present. And I did it when I really didn't know how to do it. And I did it this way and that way and tried over and over. And it's the same when there was sort of a gap at the changes of how we were doing Premier School in the area. That Jenny and I, who I'm very blessed to work with Jenny, she's just amazing, that, you know, you do step up and it's scary a lot of times and it's stressful a lot of times, as you guys know more than anybody, but it is the way to grow, and it is putting yourself out on the limb that puts you into that zone of expanding, I guess.
And doesn't it make you even more equipped then to then go out and lead other people? Like if you've already done it, if you've already had to go through the bumps and bruises, then it makes so that when you're helping someone else, you can relate to them. You can talk to them on their level. And for someone who's never actually had to go out and do those things, or never presented, or never, you know, hosted a training of any sort, it's hard then to help someone else who's trying to start a market to be able to do that, because you've not walked in those shoes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're fully equipped as a leader, and it's because you took the initiative to make that happen. That's not something you read in a book, right?
Right. And you're figuring it out as you go. You know, always rethinking, learning, but you have to keep moving yourself forward at the same time that you're inspiring other people. There's a couple of books that I have read, you know, because you hear that the system works, but we're the variable. And I know that I had some major blocks I'm overcoming some major blocks in my own background and my perception of myself and sort of the role you get assigned in life. All of us have those kind of things we inherit as we get older, depending on our lives. A few of the books, well, Melissa Bruton actually was talking last year about The Secret, which has been pretty much of an eye-opener in terms of how we look at life. And recently, The Big Leap has been a wonderful book about getting yourself unstuck out of maybe a zone of excellence into a zone of genius. But the mantra there is something now that I say every day, and I really believe it's making a difference. And it's something that he gives. I've tweaked it a little, but about, you know, I am expanding in abundance, success, and love as I inspire others to do the same. And I think that beautiful two-pronged approach is so critical to growing. And I've just been so determined to break out of this, like 2 years at Pro 5 and just kind of being in Pro 5 and feeling like, all right, so abundance. So everybody in the world needs this, okay? It's not like we have to go around finding a niche market. This is something everybody that you meet pretty much needs to hear about. So I knew the change had to happen in me, and also in inspiring and connecting my team as much, even more than I could. So I think it's a combination of that, and, you know, dealing with daily doubts is it going to happen? Am I going to fail again? Is it going to be the same old? But instead believing that abundance is there and that each of us is able to step into a fuller life. It's not just about building a LifeVantage business, but it really is about believing that we can have the happiest and fullest life that we're supposed to have, and be able to give that to other people as well.
Yeah. Well, Mimi, thank you so much for joining us today. I feel like it's a great example of what's possible. And it's also, there were so many lessons learned in what you said, because you took the initiative in so many ways, in seeking direction, in personal development, in just whatever was needed. You took that initiative, and that's what it boils down to. And that's the exciting thing for each one of us, is that we have the ability to take control. It's up to us to take control. So Mimi, thank you for jumping on with us today and sharing that. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you very much.
Thank you for asking, Lynette. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
All right. So you guys, on that same topic of resilience, I wanted to share a story, and it's one that we've shared before, but I feel like there's so much value there. There's no harm in sharing it again. It's a story that John Maxwell shared with us about a farmer who had a donkey, and that donkey fell into a well. And the donkey the farmer didn't have the means to get the donkey out of the well. So as he contemplated what to do, he decided, listen, this well's old. I don't want the donkey to, I have no way to get the donkey out. So I'm just going to invite the town to help me fill the well, bury the donkey. Bad situation, right? So that's what he decides to do. He invites the team to come help fill the well with dirt. And as they're doing so, the donkey quiets. And so the farmer looks in to see why the donkey has quieted. And what he sees is that every time a shovel load of dirt would come in to the well, the donkey shook it off his back and stepped on higher ground. And so the result of the story is the donkey got out, right? And the reality is he was getting dumped on over and over and over. He just shook it off and stepped on higher ground. And so I wouldn't typically advise anyone to be a donkey. But in this scenario, there's a lesson learned. We all have dirt piled on our back sometimes, and we have a choice to make. We have a choice as to how we're going to respond to being dumped on. And we can shake it off and step on higher ground. Or I guess we could lay down and die, right? That was the choice he had to make. So I love that story because I feel like there's so much value there. But in our business, resilience is a necessity. It's a necessity. And it's a necessity that's always needed, because from the day you start sharing this, we get so excited about what we have at LifeVantage. We run to people with excitement, and they shut us down sometimes. Not everybody does this. So we have to be resilient, because when we get that no, we have to go, okay, dust it off and on to the next one, because there are people who want this and need this. They may not know it. We may have to find ways in order to help them to see what it is, because of how closed-minded a lot of people can be. But you know what you have. And as you're out sharing it, you have to remind yourself of that. And think of the donkey analogy, because like Mimi said, everybody out there needs these products. And the reality is they need the business too. They just may not see that yet, right? Or maybe it's just not their personality. It doesn't matter. You're here, you know what you've got. There's also people who maybe get pushback. Kickback would be nice, but pushback from family and friends. Why are you doing network marketing? Why are you adding something else to your plate when it's already full? Whatever it may be, resilience is a trait that we all need to continually develop, because it's beneficial in all areas of our life. And so I'm debating as to whether or not I'm going to go any further. The other thing that I was kind of thinking about sharing with you guys is the importance of simplicity. Mimi talked about how there was a time when she was bringing people into her business and she had put together all of these binders and these different things. And she thought if they just read all of this, they'll be prepared and ready to go. You guys, the simpler we can keep this thing, the more success people will have. Mimi was willing to do the labor in compiling all of this information, putting it in a binder, presenting it. Like, she was willing to do all of that. Not everybody is. Not everybody will. She was willing. But will other people be willing? And will they take the time to read all of the information prepared? So everything we do, the point is, everything we do needs to be easily duplicated or else it won't duplicate. We got involved in this profession because of the leverage that's created. But if people are not duplicating, you have no leverage, right? So when we talk about ITT, Invite Tool Team, that's something that everyone can do. And the reason that we keep it that simple is because it needs to be that simple. If you cook, if you enjoy cooking and you are accustomed to following recipes, if you come across a recipe and the picture of the finished product looks so amazing, you're like, I have to make that. I want that. My family would love that. We're going to have that for dinner. And you then look at the recipe as to how to make it. And there's 25 ingredients and there's 10 long paragraphs, step 1, step 2, step 3, all the way to 10. You look at that and you're like, oh, no, I've changed my mind. It does look good, but I'm not making that. And then you find another recipe because it's too complicated. This business is the same way. If we make it too complicated, people will not want to duplicate it no matter what the finished product looks like, okay? So just remind yourself of that when you come up with a great idea of how you think this is going to be better in some way or how you could expand on something in some way. Ask yourself, is this something that can be duplicated? Will other people do what I do? Because if it's not, then it won't duplicate and you have no leverage, right? So a couple last things I want to talk about with you guys. Tonight, I'll be hosting the opportunity webinar. You always want to be inviting to something. Invite to the opportunity webinar tonight. And in your follow-up, invite to the next thing, right? We always want to be inviting to the next thing. Plan to be at the lead schools this weekend. Find out where the closest one to you is and get there, get pre-registered. Make sure you do that when you get off of this live today. And I want to leave you with a thought of the day. It is the greatest price you will ever pay is not paying the price. So to expand on that a little bit, we all are here for something, right? We all want something more than what we currently have. And there's a price that's going to have to be paid in order to attain that. It may be a price of your time, your hobbies, your, other things that you want to do, your pride. Maybe this is uncomfortable for you, your comfort zone. There's a lot of different things. A price has to be paid. So the greatest price you will ever pay is not paying the price, because the results, the reason that you came is worth it. It's worth it. So remind yourself of what you came here for. Remind yourself of what you're willing to do to get it, and know that it's not going to come without a price. So thank you guys for jumping on here today. I will see you tonight on the opportunity webinar, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing week. Take care, you guys.